Okay, so today we are looking at three major events in American history. The moon landing, the assassination of JFK, and 9/11. Now, as you may know, the official story is something that a lot of people do not accept. Okay, so we're going to look at the official story, and then we'll see some of the issues with the official story. So first, I want to show you some videos. First, we're going to watch the moon landing. So in 1969, July 20th, they shoot three men into space, Buzz Aldrin, Michael Collins, Neil Armstrong. Neil Armstrong becomes the first man in the world to walk on the moon. Okay, and this is his journey. All right, so let's watch it together. What you will see is that it takes a lot of thrust to get the man into space.
20 feet down, 2.5. Picking up some dust. 30 feet, 2.5 down. Big shadow. 4 forward, drift into the right a little.
This is considered the greatest achievement in human history. It took years and years of hard work involving 400,000 people all working for NASA to accomplish this perfect landing on the moon.
We're breathing again. Thanks a lot. Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now. I'm at the foot of the ladder. The 11-foot beds are only...
What is amazing is that this is being broadcast live from the moon back to NASA. So their technology back then is far superior to our technology today.
12 steps per man. 1 diaphragm per mankind. Tony, this is so great you can't believe it. I believe it, Charlie. It's raining, Johnny. Look at it go, would you, Charlie? You got all your steering to get straight. Oh, this is going to be some kind of different ride. Hippity hoppity, hippity hoppity, hippity hopping over hill and dale.
I know this looks fake, but it's not, okay? This is official NASA footage, live from the moon. And this is the best part, okay? The best part is when they return from the moon back to Earth. You see how easy it is? It's just like they just fly up. No resistance at all, okay? Perfect. Humanity's greatest achievement. Now, what's amazing is that while they were on the moon,
Both of you on the camera for a minute, please.
President Nixon and the astronauts had a phone conversation. Okay?
Roger, we'd like to get both of you in the field of view of the camera for a minute.
Yeah, I think something rather important is coming up here.
Neil and Buzz.
This is being broadcast live to American people. Okay?
We'd like to say a few words to you, over.
Hello, Neil and Buzz. I'm talking to you by telephone from the Oval of the Mountains. And this certainly has to be the most historic telephone call ever made from the White House. I just can't tell you how proud we all are of what you have done. For every American, this has to be the proudest day of our lives. And for people all over the world, I am sure that they too join with Americans in recognizing what an immense feat this is. Because of what you have done, the heavens have become a part of man's world.
Okay? The heavens have become part of man's world, right? Remember how last class we talked about how they wanted to bring the heavens down to earth. Okay, this is the idea of inversion. Okay? But do you see how amazing it is that they were able to have this seamless phone conversation? Okay? Now, they go to the moon, and you would think that they would come back, and they're heroes, right? Imagine if the school took you all on a trip to Mount Everest. You spend 6 months climbing the world's tallest mountain. You come back, and you feel amazing, right? You feel on top of the world. You're ecstatic. You want the whole world to know about it. Well, they should be feeling the same thing, right? Okay, here's a press conference after the Sorry.
I have two brief questions I'd like to ask, if I may. When you were carrying out that incredible moonwalk, did you find that the surface was equally firm anywhere, or were there harder and softer spots that you could detect? And secondly, when you looked up at the sky, could you actually see the stars and the solar corona in spite of the glare?
We were never able to see stars from the lunar surface or on the daylight side of the moon by eye without looking through the optics. I don't recall during the period of time that we were photographing the solar corona what stars we could see.
I don't remember seeing any.
I don't remember seeing any stars. He doesn't remember anything, okay? Did you see how nervous they are? It's very strange. All right? And that's why, even today, there are a lot of people who do not believe the moon landing happened. Okay, so we'll go over the theories as to why later on. But now let's switch focus and let's look at 9/11. All right, so this is the buildings coming down on 9/11. Watch how they come down. It's very strange.
The North Tower came crashing down.
Rumble.
So this is strange because a plane hit that building, right? Now it's on fire. It's very strange that the building could come straight down like that. It's almost like a demolition. I'm not saying it's a demolition, but it looks kind of strange. Okay? What's even stranger is that there were two planes that hit the Twin Towers that day, but there were three buildings which came down. The North Tower, the South Tower, and building number 7, which was across the street. Nothing hit that thing. It came down, okay? So let's watch the video. It's on fire, okay? But whoa, it's kind of strange. Comes straight down. Nothing hit that, a plane did not hit this thing, okay? And then, of course, there's another video that's kind of strange, which is the President of the United States, George W. Bush, during the attacks. He's President of the United States, he's sitting in a classroom watching a teacher teach. That's kind of strange, guys. He's kind of busy, right? He's spending the entire morning while the attacks are happening, just watching the class being taught. His positioning is weird because if you are a president, you should be behind. This is his assistant telling him there's an attack. Why is he being rushed out of that room and being put in a safe place, right? Okay? He's just sitting there. America's being attacked and he's just sitting around with kids.
Aware of the reports of the plane crash in New York? Is there any talk about that? Thank you all. You can step out the way.
Okay, so a reporter is asking him, Mr. President, do you know that America is being attacked right now? And he's like, we'll talk about it later. He's not worried. At this point, no one knows who's attacking America. No one knows how large the attack is. As President of the United States, he should be rushed immediately to a safe location. And he's not worried. He's like, we'll talk about it later. Very, very strange, okay? And that's why, even today, people are suspicious about what happened. Okay, guys, So, having seen the videos, let's go over what happened, okay? Okay. So, let's talk about the JFK assassination. On November 22nd, 1963, JFK was assassinated. And Lyndon B. Johnson, new president, he organizes a commission called the Warren Commission to investigate what happened. And they produce this huge, huge report, thousands of pages. And the report says that only one person was involved, Lee Harvey Oswald. And he was able to kill the President of the United States because of his communist sympathies. And that's it, okay? There are certain problems, though, okay? So this is the President of the United States, and he's in Dallas touring Dallas. I want to point something strange about this picture, okay? You see how in the front, JFK is in the front, but all the security is behind him. That makes no sense. What's the point of security if the security is all behind him, right? Because if someone rushes and attacks him, they're too far behind, right? Also, you see how the bodyguards and the police officers are to the side? Well, that's to prevent snipers, right? So my question then is, why is this car behind structured in a way to protect the people inside, but the car carrying JFK, it doesn't have any bodyguards? That's kind of strange. All right? This is the location, the map of the motorcade. So JFK, he's streaming down, and then when he gets into the spot, Lee Harvey Oswald is able to take 3 shots at him and kill him at the spot. So Lee Harvey Oswald takes 3 shots and kills JFK. But as you can see, the problem with this location is there are actually lots of places where you can take a shot at the president because he's in an open car with no security. And there were a lot of witnesses who believe that there were other shooters as well, at least one more shooter. And they heard the shot from other places. Many of these witnesses, almost 30 of them, were all killed or they died mysteriously soon afterwards. That's very strange. This is the menorah, okay, which is a holy candle in the Judaic tradition. You see how the shape is very similar to this plaza called Dealey Plaza? What's also interesting about Dealey Plaza is it was the site of the first Freemason large temple in Texas. Okay, so there are these religious significance to this place. It was almost like they picked this place for a ritual sacrifice. Okay? So we'll talk about the Freemasons later on because they're very important. The Freemasons are the ones who some say control America. Okay? Lee Harvey Oswald fired 3 bullets. And there's one bullet which hit JFK. But it's called a magic bullet because it was also able to ricochet off JFK and hit Governor Connolly, who was also sitting in the car as well. Okay? So they insisted that there was only one shooter. He fired 3 shots, and 1 bullet was able to injure everyone because the bullet was a magic bullet. That was in the official Warren Commission. Okay? So Lee Harvey Oswald, he's been arrested and he's been charged with killing the president. This is Lee Harvey Oswald, when he's going to court, he is ambushed by a man named Jack Ruby. You see how close Jack Ruby gets and shoots Lee Harvey Oswald point blank. Okay? Now, this is a strange picture because, first of all, how did Jack Ruby get so close? There was no security. Second of all, you see how Lee Harvey Oswald, he's being held in place by 2 police officers who are much bigger than him, right? So it's very hard for Oswald to dodge the bullet, okay? That's number 2. Number 3 is, you see his reaction. He is a trained police officer, and he looks scared. He looks confused. If you are a police officer and someone comes at you menacingly, right? You know to push him away or draw out your gun. But you see how he just freezes. That goes against his training. That's very strange. Okay? I'm not saying that this is a conspiracy, but I'm just saying how this doesn't really add up. There are lots of questions that are raised by this. Also, JFK has a brother, Robert F. Kennedy. And in 1968, Robert F. Kennedy runs for president, and it seems as though he's about to win the Democratic nomination. And then he gets killed too. And again, the question is, how did this happen? And it's a mystery how this man, named Sirhan, and he does not look like a killer, okay? Lee Harvey Oswald does not look like a killer. He does not look like a killer either, okay? But they charge him with a crime, and he's still in prison. And even today, he's saying, I didn't do it. Okay? All right. So now let's look at 9/11. And as you can see from some of the video footage, it's very suspicious what happened. There's other things that are suspicious about what happened. First of all, a month after the Twin Towers came down, all that concrete and steel was shipped to China. Yes. The Twin Towers, the debris is now in China, being put in other skyscrapers. Who knows, okay? But that's kind of strange because you would obviously want to run an investigation before you ship that thing off. But they did not do the investigation. They shipped that debris to China right away. That's the first thing. Second thing is that never in the history of humanity has a fire brought down a skyscraper. Never before and never afterwards. Investigators explained that what happened was that the jet hit the skyscraper, and then because of the explosion, because of the gas, the steel frame started to melt, okay? And then when the top melt, it started to melt the bottom one, and the bottom one, and the bottom one, and this is what we call the pancake theory. Never in human history has this happened before, except with the 3 buildings on 9/11. Okay, and the third, and then 2 planes brought down 3 buildings. The last thing is that the plane, the explosion was so intense that no bodies were recovered, no luggage was recovered, but we found their passports. Okay? We found their passports. These are the 19 hijackers who the government decided was solely responsible for the attacks. They had no help. They had no government help. They just acted by themselves, and they got really lucky. Okay, the luckiest people on the planet. As you can see, this is their passport that was found on a plane wreckage. Didn't find any bodies, didn't find any luggage, but we found the passport. So we know for sure that it was a terrorist and no one else. This is a boarding pass. This is the boarding pass. Okay? Found in the debris of the Twin Towers. Pretty lucky. But this is conclusive proof that the terrorists were responsible and no one else. Okay, so more strange things about 9/11. First of all, we have a document dated 1962, a document called Operation Northwoods. And the plan is for the government to hijack civilian aircraft, planes, and then blame it on Cuba so that the United States can declare war on Cuba. Also, 6 months before 9/11, Fox, a television station in the United States, they aired a television show called The Lone Gunman, okay? And the plot is this. The government pretends to be terrorists who hijack a plane and crash it into the World Trade Center. so they can blame it on terrorists, so they can start all these wars in the Middle East. What's amazing about the show is that the plane is not being controlled by terrorists, it's being remote controlled by government operatives. So it sounds almost like exactly like what happened on 9/11. 6 months before 9/11 happened. That's very strange. Okay? It gets stranger. This man is named Larry Silverstein, and he is both the dumbest and the luckiest businessman in the world. He's the stupidest businessman in the world because 6 weeks before 9/11, he buys the lease to the World Trade Center. Okay? Why is that stupid? Because the World Trade Center has asbestos, like a dangerous chemical. So they had to clean or remove the asbestos. The problem is the cost of removing all that asbestos would have been more than the value of the Twin Towers. That's kind of stupid, okay? Why would you lease the Twin Towers knowing that you have to put all this money into renovation, which would bankrupt you? Also, what's stupid is to have the lease, you're required to have insurance, okay? And so the insurance company says, we value the World Trade Center at $1.5 billion, okay? And Larry Silverstein says, no, it's not $1.5 billion. They are worth $3.5 billion. So he is asking to pay more insurance than he needed to. That's kind of stupid. But again, he's the luckiest man in the world because 9/11 happens, and guess what? He can now claim that 2 towers were struck, and therefore he should get twice as much as $3.55 million. He should get $7 billion. And he sued, they went to court, and he got $4.55 billion. Okay? He's also lucky because he's a workaholic, he never misses work, but that day, because of a dermatology appointment, he had to miss work. He wasn't there when 9/11 happened. The luckiest man in the world. Okay? So this teaches us that in life, do not be smart, just be lucky. Okay? That's all you need. All right, now, I know all this sounds suspicious, but there are lots of reasons why we should just believe the government. Okay? Why we should believe the United States government is telling us the truth. That 9/11 was done just by 15 terrorists operating alone, without any help. That JFK was killed by one lone gunman named Lee Harvey Oswald. That the moon landing was actually real. Okay? So let's go over the reasons why we should never ever believe conspiracy theories. Okay? The first reason, of course, is the government would never lie to us. Okay? That's the first reason. It's probably the best reason. Second reason is, well, the government is too stupid to do anything like this, okay? They're incompetent, okay? The third reason is, why is there so much evidence that there's a conspiracy theory, right? If the government is so powerful, if they're capable of like doing these conspiracies, surely they can cover it up as well. Why is it on 9/11 we have all this footage? Why is it that we have the passports? Why is it that we have like this TV show? Why is there so much evidence? That makes no sense, right? So the fact that there's so much evidence suggests to us that the government is not involved, okay? Because the government is so powerful that it can just cover everything up, right? The other thing is, NASA has 400,000 people working on the space program, right? Why hasn't anyone come forward and confessed? Why hasn't anyone told the truth? That's kind of strange. So the fact that so many people were involved, but no one has come out and told us what happened means that the government was telling the truth, okay? Does that make sense? It's very hard to keep 400,000 people quiet. Okay? Someone might have told a friend or a family member or just might have gotten drunk and then done a YouTube video. Who knows, okay? But it's very hard to keep 400,000 people under wraps. JFK, why did they kill him in public? Why not just make it a private thing, you know? Just give him some poison, he dies, no one knows. Why make it into a spectacle? Okay, so another reason to doubt conspiracy theory. Okay? And the last thing is, if the government was really involved, they would not allow us to discuss this, right? They wouldn't allow me to find this video online. They could just cover it all up, right? All these videos I've shown you are online. So this tells us the government doesn't have anything to fear, right? Okay? So we're in a strange situation where we can either believe the government is telling us the truth, but then we have all this evidence to suggest that they're not telling us the truth. Or we can believe that they did this, but what we also have to believe is that they did this and they want us to know that they did this and they want us to talk about these conspiracy theories. Okay? That's kind of strange. Well, it turns out we have an explanation for this. It's called revelation of method. The idea is that those who engage in evil must tell you that they are engaging in evil. The theory is that those who do conspiracies must tell you they're doing conspiracies. And there are 3 reasons why, okay? So let's go over them. The first reason is the idea of learned helplessness. And so the idea is, okay, let's just say that everyone knows that they did this, right? We get angry. We write emails. We make YouTube videos. Then what? Nothing, right? So the idea of learned helplessness is like the more angry you get, the more helpless you feel, and therefore the more obedient you become. Okay? That's the first reason. Second reason is the idea of karmic responsibility. And the idea is that the people in power are extremely superstitious. They believe that when they die, God will judge them. Okay? So we're all dead, and God says to the government, hey, why did you do all this evil stuff? And the government says, no, 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 I did not act alone. Everyone participated. Why? Because I told them what I was doing. They didn't stop me. They didn't raise any concerns. They didn't protest. Therefore, they are complicit. Okay? So another way of saying this is, if you just look at 9/11, if you just look at the moon landing, if you just look at JFK, the evidence is so overwhelming that if you still believe the government, it's not because you are ignorant or stupid, it's because you are complicit. It's because you are involved. Therefore, you share the guilt. Therefore, the karma is spread to everyone. Okay, that's the logic. All right? And the third reason is attention capture. These events are set up in a way so that they will be remembered forever. Okay, so everyone remembers where they were, what they were doing, who they were with on 9/11. When JFK was assassinated, during the moon landing. Okay? So you probably were not in the United States, you might have been in China, you might have been Tunisia, you might have been in South Africa, it doesn't matter, okay? You could have been on the moon, okay? But you still remember what you were doing on 9/11 because it's etched into your consciousness. And that's the point. The point is to control people by controlling how people perceive reality. Okay? Because then you have the power of God. Okay? So these are the 3 major reasons why they will do this evil, but they will tell you they did this evil, and they want you to discuss and continue to discuss why they do this evil, okay? So even today, people are still writing books about JFK. People are still writing books about the moon landing. It's allowed because it's attention capture, okay? It's like the idea of top of mind. So if you're a company, you don't care about bad publicity. All publicity is good because it's top of mind, right? So if you are hungry and you want to go out for lunch, what's the first thing that you want to eat? It's the first thing that comes to mind, right? So maybe pizza or hamburger, okay? That's the idea of branding. So that's what they're doing here. They're trying to control your reality through these events, okay? Does that make sense, guys? Okay, any questions? All right.